So good morning, Dan Gutierrez.
Good morning, Mr. Keller. How are you today?
I'm good. Welcome to our faithful listeners to the Intentional Living Podcast. Marty Keller, Dan Gutierrez, and we're recording today on a very rainy day in Sacramento, California. The Intentional Living Podcast explores getting in touch with the traumatized inner child that most of us grew up with and that is alive and well in our subconscious minds. And our focus or the lens through which we discuss these things here in this podcast is from a quote by a guy named Mr. Socrates. He said, "The secret of change is to focus all of your energy, not on fighting the old, but on building the new." And I don't know, that's not always easy to do
No, it's
because
not.
as we were talking just before we went on, uh, hit the record button, um, the old has a lot of power. And in this case, the way I interpret the old, and you may have a different perspective, but the old is the habitual psychological uh, geometry of a traumatized little kid who at some point in time made a decision without thinking about it on how to be safe. And the way that most of us figured out how to be safe was to stay away from people, to create some kind of barrier against love and connection, because the love that we were experiencing in our families of origin, particularly if we had alcoholic parents or parents with significant emotional challenges, we weren't receiving anything that we could call unconditional. We were receiving uh, difficult, sometimes violent, emotionally violent impacts on ourselves. So we had no choice because survival's not a choice for a little kid. We had no choice but to find a way to hunker down and defend against the slings and arrows of this outrageous fortune. And so, certain point in time, and we've discussed this, you and I, and we've discussed this with John Donovan, who's our mentor who developed this process. There's even an addictive quality that shows up for our wounded little kids who really want to stick to the old ways. And so, this thing about focusing all of our energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new. What I learned in the from John in this process is that it's not that is indeed it's about not fighting, and that's I think what gets us into a lot of challenge when those of us who choose to get into recovery, whether it's through adult children's of alcoholics or Alcoholics Anonymous or any other process. Um, we have this sense, I had this sense that the experiences in my subconscious that were creating compulsions and suffering and discomfort were bad and that I had to fight them. And what I've come to learn is that fighting is just more of the same. It's actually just perpetuating the old. And yes, that's in we have that principle that says what we resist persists, and that's exactly how I make it happen, is if I fight myself. So I had to I had to choose. I didn't have to. I chose to switch the word fight to befriend. I intend to befriend the addictive qualities of my wounded little kid because at the very fundamental point, it's like he didn't choose this. He's in a certain way, he was a victim of his environment, and he did his best to survive. And I chose to honor that rather than fight it. I chose to honor it rather than us tell him that he was wrong and that what he did was wrong. No, what he did was actually brave and powerful. And now, as an adult, I get to take what he started and turn it into something else, something even more exciting and enjoyable. Anyway, those are my ruminations on Socrates.
Well, magnificent ruminations they are. from the depth of Marty Keller's organism, the wisdom projects itself forward.
Indeed. And what's in the depth of Dan
Oh
Gutierrez?
God. So, what I'd like to talk about is for me, a lot of we've been doing this work for quite a while, and I remember the day that I'm going to use, hopefully people have seen The Matrix. It's been out for 25 years. So hopefully some of it's filtered into the culture. I started my recovery after the movie, and somebody told me to watch it and look at it as a documentary about recovery. And minus all the explosions and the bullets and a lot of that superfluous action going on. It is a movie of recovery and moving toward wholeness and moving toward one's self. So the phrase that I remember talking with people in long-term recovery is like, there was a moment where I had the option to take the red pill or the blue pill. One would bring me, show me the truth, and the other I would continue with my addiction and whatnot. So I, like the hero of the Matrix, took the red pill, and not knowing what that would entail. So 17 years later, I've been clean sober 17 years. The pill is a time release pill. They don't tell you that. It's not an instantaneous thing. It's very
What?
slow, very slow, very slow acting, but it's persistent. It stays with you. And so this last week or so, I've been experiencing the awakening, another level of awakening. And by the way, the red pill is not a pain reliever.
What?
Which is also, the terms and agreements, that 90-page thing, and you just click on the bottom.
Right.
Okay. Somebody might want to go back and try to read those terms and agreements before they take the pill. But I support people to do it. And this last week is the veil, or a new level of awareness has shown itself, or I've had the ability to see now. For me, the awakening is like climbing a mountain. Each time you climb a little bit higher, you can see further.
Yeah.
And so that's what it was for me. And it was, life happens for me, not to me. And I was able to see the different aspects of where I came from versus the reality of the world, in stark contrast. And I could see how my family of origin and childhood trauma has created a perception of the world that's very small and confined and limited. I say that with great compassion, because that's what happens when you live in survival mode. Your world is small. It's predictable for the most part. It's safe. Not much changes. And when things change, there's a sense of discomfort and urgency and panic to try to restore back to that safe little world. Um, and when I say safe, um, I'm not saying that it's a perception of safety, comfort. No blame, no blame, no judgment here.
Yeah, it's even just a feeling state. I either feel safe or I don't.
And right, I could be with people who, are safe or have they are safe. They're not threatening, they're not violent in any way. It's just, my sensory input is in stark contrast with what I'm seeing, and it doesn't match,
Right.
and it creates what we call emotions. The emotions well up, and they call our attention to where we're at, and um, try to move away or move toward things. But it's just the awareness that to not blame anybody, but my parents, the reality that I was raised in, the culture, the expectations, the generational stuff that was passed on to me, and um, for the for the for the moment that I could for this particular moment, this particular time, I was able to see the other side of the fence, look over the fence and see it, and just experience it, which was different than my perception, and for me, that's an awakening. Um, it's just humbling and sad. Yeah, it is like taking the red pill and then waking up to the truth. No blame and no judgment. I don't know if that's hard for people to grasp. Um, I'm just sitting in the truth of it, and I'm feeling the sadness and the loss and what could have been, what might have been, all the sadness and pain that went along with um, the old experience, the old conditioning, and moving through it and being able to talk about it. Yeah, it was just like, man, this is not unicorns and butterflies. Oh shit, that's right. I didn't read the fine print, right? And then the awareness comes, and it's just like, okay, I can see why people relapse. I can see why people give up. It's too much. And I've been of the mind, well, you're not trying hard enough. It's like, oh boy, there we go. Thank you, family of origin.
There's fighting the old right there.
Well, that's what I was given that's what I was given.
Right.
You never quit, you know, what is it? Winners never give up. All these other platitudes where, you stay in there, you don't give up. And there was no other way, you know. Um, what is it? Nobody likes a quitter. Well, okay. I haven't quit. I'm just approaching it in a different way. I still have a goal to heal myself, and I'm willing to consider giving up the fight and surrender to it and not try to change anything. Just just be with it and watch what happens. So I've been doing that for the past week, and fighting keeps me in the state of perpetual fear, anxiety, and denial. I'm speaking for myself. Keeps me other focused rather than healing, like Socrates said. I keep recreating the old instead of what I really want to create. And the awareness has come from feeling my feelings, surrendering to the pain, because that's where the wisdom is, so I can create what it is I truly want. And then using that wisdom to answer which becomes the answer to what is it I want that I don't have. And then I create the intention. I create the intention from the intentional living accountability practice. I've envisioned it now that when I create the intention in the present moment, I become my own farmer and I plant a future harvest that I want to have. Safety, connection, peace, joy, and tend to the garden each day, keep planting a new harvest that I want and using my awareness about what I'm feeling, what I'm experiencing, the awareness of where I've been, where I came from, and by integrating those things rather than trying to fight them, the possibility for different outcome exists. And how do I come to this awareness for myself? There's been something inside of me the whole time. I'll just use the reference as the inner child, um, or the human spirit. Um, that's always been alive inside of me. I'm just speaking for myself. At times, the flame or the light has been dim, but it's never gone out. And I think, you know, this the start of all this was my willingness to take the red pill and not know what it was going to be like, but I was willing to do it anyway. That's that little inner child influencing my decision making process or the human spirit part of me. And now I'm just coming into alignment with a lot of those principles that we talk about. And it's just, this is not what I expected recovery would lead to. And maybe I need to maybe that's what butterflies and unicorns are, is this. And I just didn't know it.
Well, it's what you're saying, what you put me in mind of is on John's board when he does his whole thing on Saturday mornings. He says one of the obstacles to getting what I want is expectations. And expectations are not easy to, first of all, even notice, much less give them up. And one of the ways that I've learned to notice expectations is basically to stumble into them, to sort of like bump into the wall of my expectations and something hurts. And I go, holy shit, I know why this is happening because I have an expectation here. And most of my expectations are about how I'm supposed to be.
Right.
And I'm supposed to be the hero. I'm supposed to be perfect. I'm supposed to be flawless, all those things. And then my flaws and imperfections just whack me in the face regularly. And you said something a minute ago that I think is pertinent for me, which is, am I willing to just surrender to them? I said earlier, I talk about befriending rather than fighting, and this is how I do it. Surrender is how it's like, I give up the fight. And then, like you said, or at least I heard you say, tell me if I got it wrong, but if give up the fight, I'm willing to see what happens. I'm willing to be with the consequences of giving up the fight. And in that, I have no expectations because I've never given up the fight before. So I don't know what's going to show up.
Yeah, and it's, it's really interesting. It's, the expectation is that I will fight because everything in my body and my mind has been conditioned to do that. And, I don't know, at this point in my recovery, one of the first things I go to, how's that working for you?
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, it's working, but it's not, I'm not building what I want. I'm working really hard, but what I want is not, something's being lost in the blueprints here because I keep building the same thing, expecting different results. Um, and now I've done it enough times too. Well, it's like, well, what's going to happen? It's like, I don't care what happens. I've survived every crisis. I'm batting 1,000. I haven't died from any challenges that I've put that come my way. So yeah, let's see what happens. So I'm no longer, I'm engaged in the process of surrender to give, to quit uh, trying to resist what is. Um, one definition of, we had in one of our meetings, a definition of what it means to be a human being. And the defining characteristic would be that the human being is the only creature on the face of the earth that argues with reality.
In spite of the evidence of its potential uselessness.
Yeah.
Because that's the definition of insanity too, right? I'll just argue with reality one more time and then I'll get the outcome I want.
Exactly. I'm not trying hard enough. I'm not
Exactly.
persuasive enough. I'm not giving enough effort. Um,
Yeah.
and that's one of those, you know, things that was taught to me was, I support you in that. Go ahead and knock yourself out. You let me know. If it works, you come back and tell me. Because I'm looking for any way to get past this. So, and okay. If it works for you, it could work for me, but it hasn't worked for me yet. So, but I encourage you to keep doing it. There's something there for you.
Yeah.
Nobody forced me into this position. I had to come to it of my own volition here. And I don't, I can't tell you how many times, the message has been uh, shared. You have to surrender. You have to surrender. Acceptance, detachment, all the same things. Stop fighting. Stop resisting. And I had in one of my groups that I had that conversation, and which was very interesting. So everybody's talking about letting go, surrendering to, and it's like, okay, enough of this. So who here knows how to do letting go? Okay, who here knows how to surrender? And if you do, tell me how. Give me a 5-step plan to surrender. And amazingly enough, well, not amazingly enough, but coincidentally enough, there was not much dialogue.
You
But
mean the crickets showed up?
yeah, the crickets showed up, but and then I decided, okay, well, how do you fight everything? So tell me how you resist everything. And the conversation took off because that's what everybody'd been doing. They were all masters, or they all went to the same class and they got the same information. But surrender and acceptance, and that wasn't offered at my school. I was absent that day or whatever. But for me, the taking of the red pill is surrendering to stop fighting. Um,
Yeah, that's what I learned. It's just stop. It doesn't have to be anything. I thought it had to be something esoteric or deeply spiritual or blah 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 blah. No, it's just
no,
like it's just give up.
or like Socrates said, just focus on something else.
Yeah.
Put your energy toward what it is that you want, and see what happens.
Well, when you stop or when I stop, that actually clears space to do that. As long as I'm fighting something, all of my focus is on the opponent. And if that opponent is an opponent I actually can't beat, then I spend my whole life focused on that one
Right,
belief, that one assumption, that one invented reality from inside myself, and no other possibility will exist, even though every possibility always exists
right,
100% of the time. The minute I stop fighting, I take my focus off the opponent and think, oh my gosh, there's all kinds of stuff around here. I didn't even see that.
right. Another one way I look at it is that you can't create less of anything.
Well said.
So if you focus on something else, you create more of whatever you're focused on. So you're creating by default, you're creating less fighting. So if you create more surrender, by default, there's less fighting.
Right.
But you can't create less fighting by not fighting. You're creating something else. And the moment you stop fighting, there's more of something else.
Exactly.
So that's,
One of our principles is the quality of my life is determined by the focus of my attention.
right,
And I think what you just said is an illustration of that. And for those of you watching this, John Donovan and I did a podcast on that very principle. You might want to check that out, because this is really what the red pill is about. It's about creating the new. It's what Socrates said, spending my time not on fighting the old, but on creating the new. And I can't create the new when I'm fighting the old. It's like it can't, I'm not that powerful enough. Maybe God can do that, but I can't.
okay. So yeah, and the thing that just for me, that what I've been looking for in the moment where I've been having all this awareness, and the state that I'm in right now is there's no tension. I'm not feeling pressured. I'm calm. I feel at ease, and the experience that I had is by surrendering, by letting go, I get what I really want, which is this state of being.
Yep.
That sounds like a good ending.
Well, I was going to say, as we're coming to the end of our time, I just want to invite everybody who's either taken that red pill and is still struggling or is thinking about taking that red pill to join us in one of our meetings. All the work that we do in the intentional living process, we do in group. And there are 4 Zoom group meetings a week. Dan facilitates one on Monday nights. I facilitate one on Wednesday afternoons. This is California time. And our colleague Rodney facilitates a meeting on Thursday nights. And the Grand Poobah himself, John Donovan, facilitates a meeting on Saturday mornings. All the information about how to get into the Zoom rooms and the specific times will be at the end of the podcast. So bring your red pill challenges or triumphs. Come and share things that have worked for you in recovery and contribute to other people's sense of possibility. And so with that, Dan, I want to thank you as always for your big heart and your willingness to share what's going on. Uh, this because
Absolutely.
recovery is about specific people going through specific experiences, and we often extrapolate into principles, and we do talk about principles, but it's all about a specific experience that each one of us who takes the red pill experiences. So thanks for that, and we'll see you at the next one.
Sounds good.
Stay
Thank you.
dry.
I will.